Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.
Hello friends, and welcome to Fairfield Today. Paul Jasson with you. Thank you for joining us. We are again from the lobby. Glad to say they're open. A couple of weeks ago they opened up downtown, and all their lobbies are open back up as things start to get a little bit better with the pandemic. So we appreciate them even through the more difficult times when their lobby was closed. They allowed us to come in and do our show from here. We were downtown at Fairfield Federal, and again, we even with the last year their Quasquacentennial was kind of shortened a little bit. They weren't able to do all the great plans they had for that. They're continuing that this year, but I'd go to fairfieldfederal.com. They got a lot of good information on there about, and again, certainly the banking things, the internet, the personal, the business banking, all that's on there at fairfieldfederal.com. Start out our show today with, it's nice to do new programs that we haven't done. We do many programs where it's ongoing every year or a couple times a year. We have people back and they have significant events that we're able to talk about. But one of them, I saw an article in the Lancaster Eagle Gazette, it's been a while ago now, about a program called Refuge, Ohio, and that I'd never heard of that, but it intrigued me about what it was, and it was a nice article in there. And the gentleman they talked about locally that deals with it is Mike Wells, who's Director of Ministry here in Lancaster at this site for Refuge, Ohio, and I'm pleased to have Mike with me. Mike, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. You are the head of Lancaster's Refuge, Ohio, and this is a program, and I think I wrote it down here. It's a faith-based, nonprofit addiction recovery program, correct?
Yes.
Yep. So I guess many people that are in a program that headed up like you came through either a program like this or similar to this. In your case, you came through this program, and we'll talk about what that means, but your story is similar to many of the people you deal with right now, right?
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
About 15 years ago, about 16 actually, I struggled with addiction. I was addicted to cocaine, that whole lifestyle. Ended up homeless on the streets of Columbus. I tried multiple rehabs. And I just, deep down, I knew there was more to life than that. Mm-hmm. And I knew I had potential. I knew there was a way out. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know what to do. I kept relapsing, just kept going the same path over and over, the cycle of insanity.
Sure.
And there was a point where I knew I was like, I'm going to die if I don't change my ways quickly. But around that same week when I was having those thoughts of like, man, this isn't going to last much longer, a family member reached out. I was able to get information about the Refuge. Went to an interview. I was accepted and started my new journey. And haven't been the same since.
Yeah. What was that? You say 15 years ago this was kind of all starting to go?
Yes.
Yeah. And your story is probably typical with the men and women that you deal with now. More or less, worse, better, but that's pretty much the story you see over and again.
Yes, it's a place of destitute and brokenness, and addiction has changed in many ways since even 15 years ago. Now, it's overdoses are extremely high.
Oh yeah.
And somebody that's using once when 15 years ago you could use and live the next day. You use once now, it's life or death.
Sure.
So many of the folks that are coming in are in a place of desperate need for change and transformation, and they've tried different places, and some places have really brought to the attention like, hey, I'm powerless over this drug or this lifestyle, but they needed new tools, they needed relationships, peer support, and ultimately that relationship with Jesus. And that's the spiritual component that from a holistic approach, we not only deal with the emotional, mental, and physical, but also that main component of the spiritual.
And I was going to mention that because some places, even though they meet at a church, you meet at Maple Street, United Methodist Church on Thursdays.
Yes, Thursdays at
okay.
10 a.m.
They meet there. But many organizations meet at churches. That doesn't mean everything has, because they meet there, a religious component. But that's very important in this journey that you went through, and that your men and women, your people go through, this religious godlike component is there. That's important.
Yes, our principles, our values, we have what we call 7 principles, and they all come from a biblical foundation. And so that is very vital. Talking about commitment, talking about honesty and transparency, willingness to be taught, stewardship, work ethic, courage, faith, thankfulness, and gratitude. Those are keys to the process of the Refuge, our values, our principles.
Now, when you get in the program, as you indicated, you have to be interviewed, you have to be accepted, and once you're in the program, I believe it's 13 months in length, takes a little over a year to get through it, and there are 4 steps, 4 phases that your program set up. What would those 4 phases be?
Yeah, so phase 1 is the discovery phase, and that's typically 4 weeks. And we don't pressure anybody for 13 months to say, hey, you have to stay the whole 13 months. We're just like, hey, give phase 1 a shot, see what these 30 days look like. And so that would be the discovery phase. This is where, they're coming off drugs, they're beginning to find out like what their emotions, are all over the place. So we definitely teach emotional regulation, and beginning to help them have a foundation of a new beginning, a new path, a discovery of who God is. And who they are, even, because who they are, people have called, drug addicts, thieves, liars, cheats, all the names, the taglines, the things that follow that lifestyle. Very much so is what they did, but that doesn't mean that's who they are. So teaching them from a biblical perspective of who they are and how significant and valued and loved and cared for. And so as they're coming in phase 1, the big experience there is that they experience that unconditional love and acceptance.
Right.
And so when they go into phase 2, that's where we really dive deeper into relationships, going deeper in relationship with themselves, others, and God. And so we have different tools that help kind of work through some of the past pain, the trauma even that has happened many times in anybody that's been addicted in their lifestyle. Typically there's some sort of trauma or some sort of pain, shame, or guilt that follows that. And so we help them work through that. And then they go into phase 3, and so everything they're learning as they begin to get back into slowly a realistic lifestyle, learning how they live. And so everything they've learned in phase 1 and 2, they begin to apply in phase 3. And so they're working on a weekly basis, and this is what helps us keep it free and helps the man behind them or the woman behind them as they're coming in, because phase 1 you don't work. But in phase 3, you start working, you start receiving a monthly stipend, and basically learning how to budget. Some of the practical skills, getting your Social Security card back, license back even, beginning to work on GED, some of the practical things that are necessary to live a responsible life. And then phase 4 is where we really build the launch plan for when they transition and complete
into society.
Into society, so that we have 100% job placement. So when they leave, they're going to have a good job.
Nice.
They're not going to have just a normal job. They're going to have a good job. An employer that understands their past, an employer that is going to walk with them. And so we have that. Also Project 614, to where they can begin to work on not just renting, but owning their own home on the west side of Columbus.
So 13 months, this program lasts that long, you go through it. What kind of success rate do you have with that, with people? How many, like right now, how many people are in the program right now?
We have about 60, so around 65 men and women.
Wow.
We've seen upwards of 80, 90.
Oh my.
So, and that fluctuates depending on seasons. But our success rate is runs between 46 to 50%.
Maybe 50%.
Yeah. So, and that's really good. Those are folks that have stayed past 30 days, that have done well, that have left well, and that are doing well. So, and then there's a 15% completion rate. So those who come in, they complete. That's about 15%.
My guest is Mike Wells. Mike is the Director of Ministry for the Lancaster location, who meets Thursday noon, morning,
10 a.m.
10 a.m. over at Maple Street, United Methodist Church over on Maple Street on the other side of town here. So in a 13-month program, and you meet on Thursdays, so you have people in all 4 phases, probably meeting at one time?
No. So the Thursdays are intake.
Okay.
So if somebody's needing help,
Phase 1.
they can call in for a pre-screen. So if anybody's listening and they need help, they can call 991-0131. That's a 614 area code. And we can do a pre-screen and get them, hopefully get them some help as soon as Thursday here at Maple Street.
Sure.
10 a.m. And we'll do an orientation presentation, so you'll get to hear what the Refuge is about. And then we also have in Columbus at 10 a.m. at the Veritas Columbus Church, or Community Church, on 12 South Terrace. 10 a.m. is where we have intakes at that time, or orientation.
Now, we've gone through this past year with the pandemic. How has that, and I'm sure it has affected you, how has that been handled by Refuge Ohio?
Absolutely. We were faced with, needing to adapt to a situation where it's, you can't gather over 10 people, and
Sure.
A lot of places were shut down, so we had to really adapt, and what we did was we ended up moving over to doing pre-screen calls and interviews over the phone, and then setting up a specific meet time to where somebody can get help. So actually it ended up helping us evolve into where we're offering more options to help those who are struggling with addiction.
And we've seen some of that with lots of nonprofits and things go on. They've had to do things, think out of the box, not how you've done it, but now if somehow this were to end today, some of these processes that you've learned, that you've been pushed into, you may carry those in the future.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah. And again, Mike is a graduate, I guess, a graduate of the program of Refuge Ohio. And again, is it refugeohio.org?
TheRefugeOhio.org.
TheRefugeOhio.org. Great website. Just put that in your search engine, you'll find it. And again, the phone number, if somebody wants more information on this, what would they look up?
They would look up Refuge 614-991-0131.
Okay. And again, the meetings you have down here, this is more the early stages. This is just getting involved here, and then once you get accepted in, how long does that indoctrination kind of take to, once somebody would come in, how long would it take to say you're in?
Yeah, so if somebody were to come in Thursday, they could be accepted that day leave with us that day.
And there must be certain criteria they have to be part of.
We got to make sure, we do a background check.
Yeah.
We do a sex offender check. So making sure, we follow good neighbor rules to where, we are our neighbors and those around us, we're doing our proper background checks and sex offender checks.
So again, it's Refuge Ohio. It's a faith-based, nonprofit addiction program. Mike Wells is the director of it. They meet here at Maple Street on Tuesday mornings. Again, it gave you the numbers. We'll have them available here, and you can look them up. It's Refuge Ohio, therefugeohio.org. Mike, thanks for joining us. Thank you. Congratulations on your success and a great program. We'll get you back here, and we'll talk about this as this moves on. Good luck on this. Thank you. We'll be back on Fairfield Today.
The Frankie Smith Funeral Home and Crematory in Lancaster and the Johnson Smith Funeral Home in Baltimore have a long and wonderful history of serving our community. Feel free to give us a call at 740-653-0652. Stop in and see us at either of our 2 locations, 405 North Columbus Street in Lancaster and 207 South Main Street in Baltimore. Respect for tradition, regard for change.
Fairfield Federal. When it comes to our customers and our community, we go above and beyond to help. Our people make the difference.
We were retiring from Tucson, Arizona, and we made a retirement trip out around Ohio, having decided that's where we wanted to be. And we came across this town called Lancaster, and we fell in love with the downtown area where the fountain is and the memorials and the flags and all this stuff. And we looked around and I said, there's our bank right there.
There's something to be said about a community bank in your hometown.
Right. If you live in the community, you should do business in the community as much as possible. So it makes sense to bank with a community bank where you live.
Fairfield Federal is the bank to be at. If you live in this town, or any town actually, you want to bank at a local home bank. The employees are happy here, they're conversant, customer service is through the roof. There's nothing more you could ask for.
Personal or business banking, whatever you need, we take it seriously because we know you do. Stop by today at any of our 3 locations and see why the difference is clear. Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan specializes in banking that revolves around you.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Well, welcome back to Fairfield today. Refuge, Ohio, that's a great organization. I hope if you're interested in any of that information on that, there's just lots of good stuff on their website. You can learn a lot from watching that. We're here at Fairfield Federal. Again, as you heard on the commercials, Fairfield Federal, their lobbies are back open here on the west side, and up in Pickerington, lobbies are back open, drive-thrus are open, internet banking is still going strong. So I'd go to fairfield.com and fairfieldfederal.com, and you can look all that up. They have all the information on there as they now are transitioning back into full-time business here in the lobby. And again, it's a show today of new folks that we've never had on before. I think when you think of Chillicothe, one of the things you think about is Tecumseh. That comes to mind right away for me, because so many people from here in Fairfield County over the years, and I don't even know however many years, it seems like it's been going on forever, but Tecumseh, the drama over there, Sugarloaf Mountain, has just been a tremendous asset to that community, and it's still going today after maybe taking a year off last year on a hiatus with the pandemic. Now it's back on. Pleasure to have with us Brandon Smith, CEO of the Scioto Society. And they're the ones that are behind Tecumseh. They're the people that kind of head it up now.
They're the producers, yes.
Producers
Yep.
of it. So, and you operate out of Chillicothe,
Yes.
obviously, what's going on there. And so now, were we right a year ago, about now, everything was caving in, and I'm sure you're thinking, well, maybe we can make it get well. As it got on, it was obvious that it was not going to be a go. So you canceled out?
We did. We lost everything that we had planned last year. We were actually about 2 days away from, we do a big spring fundraiser every year around St. Patrick's Day, and we were in the room setting up when the governor came on and announced that large gatherings would be banned for the rest of the year. So we kind of cleaned up and went home. We rescheduled the event for late April, thinking,
well, maybe everybody thought that.
Yeah.
It's not going to last that
long. Yeah, right. So it has been an extremely challenging year in a lot of respects, but we survived, and we'll be open this year, and a lot of theaters aren't that lucky.
Sure. Well, let's talk a little bit about Tecumseh. How many years has that been going on?
This will be 49.
49 years,
Yeah.
and again, Brandon he indicated he's the CEO of the Scioto Society now, but it did start 49 years ago, but I'm going to guess 20, 30 years ago maybe.
That's about right.
You were a ticket taker. He was a ticket taker. Now, it's funny how things go like that. The gentleman we just had on, Mike Wells, he started in his organization, and now he's the local head of it, and then Brandon is the head of the Scioto Society now. So, Tecumseh, your plans this year are perhaps a trim-backed version of it, but last year where you didn't get to do it, this year it's going on.
Yeah, we'll open on June the 17th.
Okay.
When I leave here and get back, we'll continue casting. We're in the middle of that right now.
Okay.
But yeah, there's going to be a lot of restrictions. It's going to be a different experience for people, and a different experience for us running it as well. But hopefully it's only for this year. And I think if people are thinking like me, they're kind of itching to get out and to be able to do something that feels normal and fun. Yeah. So I think that people will appreciate the effort that goes into it.
Well, I mean, that's such an iconic event over there. I mean, it's a wonderful location, sort of like the festival is here. We have a great location for it. Of course, just the wheels fell off of that last year like they did for everything else. And again, my story was, they talk about this. You start hearing about a year ago now, you start hearing little things, something going on. And then when the governor canceled the Arnold, I thought, this is big.
Yeah.
I mean, if the Arnold can't make it, what else? But everybody thought, well, by the summer we'll be, and then it just continued to get worse. And now here we are a year later. But now, thank goodness you're up and running again. And again, I guess it's going to be even more important now for people to get their tickets early, because there's going to be a third less?
Absolutely, yeah. We seat about 2,000 in our theater,
Yeah.
and we'll have a max capacity of just over 400.
400.
So it's going to be a high demand for those 400
Sure.
seats every night.
And again, the website is
TecumsehDrama.com.
.com, and it's a good website. It's a lot of good information. But when you get on there, you can see where you can get tickets and order them. But if you're thinking now, like Brandon talks about, it's going to be ready to get out. Starts in June.
Mm-hmm.
The dates are all on there. But I'd think about getting your tickets as quickly as you can, because again, 30% capacity would be a lot less opportunities to go. Going to be lots of shows, same schedule, I mean, in terms of nights.
Yeah, so Monday through Saturday nights,
Yeah.
6 nights a week, so about 71 shows throughout the summer. And then on Sundays, we're going to do some other stuff this year. We actually were the recipients of a grant through the Chillicothe Convention and Visitors Bureau to purchase an inflatable movie screen and a projector and a whole package. So we're going to show some movies on Sundays, which will be different and fun, I think.
Yeah, more family.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes.
So there's, I think, 6 movies, and we tried to mix it up. So
Sure.
there's 2 kind of Dumbo, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and then a couple of classics as well. And it'll be cheap to get in. And in Chillicothe right now, we don't have a movie theater, so.
Is that right?
Yeah, they closed due to the pandemic, and
Sure.
I'm assuming someone will get one open over
Yeah,
there.
but the
not
movie
right
theaters
now.
really took it hard. I mean, they
Terrible.
were closed, and
Terrible.
there was just no place to go for them. I mean,
Yep.
it was just cut it off at the knees and it's over.
That's right. And the
So-
margins are so slim in the movie
Yeah,
business,
yeah.
Particularly in towns like Lancaster and Chillicothe, where most of the movie houses are either locally owned or very small chains. And so, you lose a month, 2 months of business, it's hard to come back from that.
It's a different time. If you're a Chillicothe boy, you probably remember this. I grew up here. Right across the street here was one. We had 4 theaters when I was a kid, and let's say that's been 60 years ago. There were 4 theaters in town, broad. They were just all over the place, and then one by one they close up, and then for a while you don't have any, and now the mall's open. They open in the mall, but and now Chillicothe struggled. You got them open, but again, I'd go on their website there, look up Tecumseh and find that. But what really kind of caught my eye was a while ago in the Columbus Dispatch. I was just looking at the Arts Ohio section, and they were talking about a new drama going on in Chillicothe about Dracula. And that caught my eye. Because everybody just is drawn to Dracula. That's one of these things that, like Sherlock Holmes, everybody wants to know more about it. So not only will you have Tecumseh in the Sherman, but during the month of October, you'll be putting on Dracula.
Yeah, it's a great story, right? And
Yeah.
and that's what we do. We tell stories, and Dracula is one of the best ever written.
Yeah.
So the particular script that we're producing is called The Passion of Dracula, and it's a little bit of a different take on the story. It gets a little more into the ancillary characters than Dracula himself. And so we're going to produce it on weekends, Fridays and Saturdays throughout the month of October. It's people who have been to our Halloween events before are kind of used to expecting a non-traditional theatrical experience.
Which is what they want.
That's what they want.
Sure.
Yes, and we provide that, and we try to provide a whole evening of things to do.
Yeah.
So you get to come and see the show. With this particular event, we're also going to be recreating a late 1800s circus, which will happen in the parking lot, and you can partake in that. We have escape rooms that people can go through.
Tarot cards, I was reading.
Yes, fortune tellers,
Yes.
the whole 9 yards.
Escape room.
Escape room, yeah. Have you ever done one?
I have not.
Well, let me tell you what. I'm terrible at them.
I'm not sure. I might get in there and not get out.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's been my experience. Yes, and I always joke that if you don't get out, we put you to work. But really, we'll just let you go home.
so and now while Tecumseh will be Monday through Saturday. During the month of October, it's what, Friday and Saturday for Dracula?
Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, each evening. And again, tickets will be available through the website.
Yep, you can go to the same website.
Are they there now?
Tickets are on sale
okay,
now.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you've done something, as you indicated, for years in this area in terms of Halloween, in terms of that. So I guess this is just a kind of a flip, a little evolution of that?
Yeah, it's, we try to do things for a couple of years, 2-3 years at a time, and then move on to something new. So it gives people who have been an incentive to come back. But it's also just a lot of fun for us to do.
Yeah.
Tecumseh is the type of thing that's it's not set in stone, but it's very well established, and
Sure.
so we know every
We know
year.
who wins, we
yes.
know who loses.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's fun for the audience, but also for us because we get to make everything up and create it from scratch.
Sure.
Yeah.
My guest is Brandon Smith. Brandon is CEO of the Scioto Society, and they're the people that in the fall, in October, will be having the production of the Passion of Dracula. Is that what it's?
That's right.
The Passion of Dracula. But right now, or at least coming up here in a couple of months, they'll be overseeing the very well-known and always so well-attended Tecumseh. I know that's one of the events that so many people from Fairfield County head over there because it's just a short drive, and it's a nice drive over there, and great location for it. I mean, again, you've got a great setting over there and a great thing, and what'd you say, for 49 years it's been going on?
Yeah. No, the theater is it's stunning, really.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll stand up there at the top, and you think about those businessmen who started the Scioto Society had no theater experience at all, right? They just had an idea.
Sure.
And somehow they managed to go out in the middle of the woods and pick just the most beautiful spot I've ever seen for a theater. And that's really one of the reasons why we started doing these other events, because we have this great facility that was only used for 3 months a year. And so now it's used not round the clock, not round the calendar, but close,
more.
10 months a year or so.
It's sort of like our fairgrounds here. You know, it used to be, growing up, it was for 2 weeks in October, and that was it. There was the other 11 and a half months it sat empty.
Yes.
Well, they realized we're losing everything here. We can make it. So now the fairgrounds is used for so much more all 12 months. And this, I guess, is what you folks have found, is that sitting there, if you're not making money, you're losing money.
That's
I guess
right.
that's the point.
That's right.
So I wonder how they ever decided on Tecumseh. I mean, it's a great story, but I mean, of all the things of all the things they could have chosen, how did that come about?
So the original idea was to do a play on Thomas Worthington, a Chillicothe, another Chillicothe native, who is, I'd say, somewhat fairly well known in the state of Ohio. And so they contacted Alan Eckert, a very popular Ohio writer at that time, had just written The Frontiersman, and said, we have this idea for a show. So he started doing some research, and he kind of came back to them and said, you know what, he was not a terribly interesting fellow. His diaries are boring. I don't have a lot of good material to write an engaging
tough to make
show.
this work.
Yes. And he said, but you know, Tecumseh was a fairly interesting fellow, and I think we could make a good show out of that. And so that's how it was born. Alan had a very high respect for Tecumseh, both as a man and as a mythical figure, and I think that shows in his writing just how much he was respected.
And this is pretty much the same play through all that time. You've pretty much stuck to that story.
Yeah, the script is very much the same. The way in which that script is produced obviously changes every year.
Sure.
But the script, it's changed a little bit, but not much. But, yeah.
Well, if you go to the website now, look up Tecumseh, tecumsehdrama.com. They have all kinds of information on there about getting ready in June. It'll be going to Tecumseh again with only about a third of the amount of people that can be there in this large theaters because of social distancing. That's still going on. But at least, as opposed to last year that it didn't happen, it is happening now. It's going to go there. So again, if you're thinking about someplace to go this summer and you want to go over there and you missed it last year, you better get your tickets early because not as many are available. And then as they move into October, the website has that information on there on weekends. Friday, Tecumseh is Monday through Saturday, and Dracula, the Passion of Dracula, is Friday and Saturdays for the month of October.
That's right.
Yeah. And you'll be having eventually tryouts for that. And
yeah, so we generally will cast the fall show from the summer cast.
Okay. Those are the people.
But we always put out, I love to have local actors in our shows, and I always put it on our Facebook page. Send me a video.
Sure.
I want to see your work. Come work for us.
Yeah, good. Well, Brandon Smith has been our guest, and gosh, it's been great having you on. And as we maybe get into this summer a little bit, we get closer to that, we'll try to get you back. I know you'll be busy. You'll start working hard again now.
You know what? Once the show goes up, my time frees up because I have everybody else doing their jobs now, and I just get to sit back.
Well,
and
we
enjoy
appreciate
the
you.
ride.
Do such a great job with with Tecumseh, and we're looking forward to the Passion of Dracula. It should be just a star-studded show. We're looking forward
Thanks
to
so
it.
much. It's been
Sure,
a pleasure.
thank you. Brandon Smith with us from the Scioto Society. Glad to have him with us as we talk about Tecumseh and the Pride of Dracula. So, Passion of Dracula. It's Passion of Dracula. So thank you for joining us on Fairfield Today.
Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.